Have you ever opened up Logic Pro, stared at the blank screen and thought, where do I begin? I've written and produced over 400 songs in Logic Pro, and this is the exact formula I use from start to finish on almost every song I make. So let's start with step number 1, which will remove the dreaded empty Logic Pro screen. Starting a song is kind of like starting a puzzle. You need to find the right corner pieces first. So each step in this video will be like placing a key puzzle piece, and then gradually we'll complete the full picture, making the process feel exciting and achievable. So we need to start with the corner pieces of the puzzle because we need to understand what we're working with. So a song, we also need to start with chords so we can understand the framework of a song. Quick caveat here, there's lots of ways to start a song, and this is just one, but it works really well. So you don't need your entire chord progression for the song from start to finish, but I think it's good to have at least an 8-bar loop so that we have a direction. For example, here's a song I started last week, and I used this chord progression to start the song. So how can you do this yourself? So this section is going to show you 3 ways to break through this barrier and actually just start a chord progression. So number 1, I like to call the ARP method. Step 1, add a bass software instrument track. Step 2 is add the MIDI effects arpeggiator under MIDI effects in the inspector window. Step 3 is open up the MIDI effects arpeggiator and choose a pattern. I like the preset rolling 8ths. Step 4, add a drummer track as well, just to get a vibe going. But on the drummer track itself, follow the bass track here. So now we have a vibe, or at least a sequence of notes that we can get inspired by to start a song. I've written lots of songs like this using the simple ARP method, like my song Skeletons in Your Closet. So this leads us to our next problem though, is what if you don't know anything about chords? Well, let's solve that problem by talking about the second way you can find a chord progression. This happens to also be the easiest method, and sometimes often feels like I'm cheating. By the way, if you do want to get better at Logic Pro, I send a free 3-minute email every week with quick tips and resources. Join at the link below. Okay, some of the world's biggest songs actually use this next method. I'll share some examples in a bit too. With this method, you can start your song with tracks like this. So now that you've seen that, let me show you exactly now how you can do it yourself. So step 1, use sound libraries like Splice, which have thousands of honestly really good starting points for loops and sounds. Did you know that like the recent world hit Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter actually started with a Splice loop? Okay, so what if you don't have Splice? Well, you can use the Apple Loops library instead, which has some good sounds, but it also has a lot of sounds, not bad sounds, but just sounds that you might not use, but still some good ones. Like, remember the hit song Umbrella by Rihanna? It started with an Apple loop. So to start with Apple loops, follow these simple steps. Step 1, use the filters to narrow your search because there's a lot of sounds you might not want to use. Step 2, audition the sounds just by clicking here. And step 3, once you find a sound that you like, just drag it into the session to get started. So the third way to start a chord progression, actually it's my favorite way, but it's often the most challenging. The good part is though, I think it gives you the best result. For example, let's look at another chord progression of a song I started last week at a co-write in Montreal. So this is a recording I did on my own in this room, and recording your own sounds will give you, in my opinion, the most unique results, but it's tough. However, since we're still in the stage of songwriting, I don't think the recording has to be near perfect yet, but it should be good enough to build the song around. And when I say good enough, I mean there should be a decent performance with good timing. So to recap, start your song with a chord progression, and you can easily find one by using one of these 3 options. So now that you know how to lay the foundation, we can start filling out our song with the most important pieces. Once you start doing this step, you're going to really notice your song start to come to life. When you're filling out the middle puzzle pieces, you're looking for catchy moments so you can create the best song possible. So for example, what would you say is the most unforgettable part in the song Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones? Or what would you say is the most catchy part in the song Thunder by AC/DC? Think about why it sticks in your head. In both these songs, it's the melody, right? And in most cases, the vocal melody is attached to a lyric too. So now that you know it's the melody, let me show you exactly how you can do it yourself. Step 1, drag out your chord progression for the entirety of your Logic Pro screen like this. Step 2, put your headphones on and get your mic set up so that you can record right in front of the computer. Step 3, now you're going to start recording melody ideas that just come to your head. Step 4, it's very important not to judge any ideas that you create. Judging and being critical is really good, but definitely not at this stage. Just save the judging for later. Step 5, try to record as many ideas as possible until you feel like you've collected enough that you can edit and choose from. Step 6, now listen back to your ideas and color the ideas that you want to pursue within the song. This is where you can start judging. This entire process of creating vocal melodies on the spot with whatever comes to your head can be uncomfortable at first, but it's a worthwhile practice to strengthen because this is really how great songs are created. If you prefer just to do this with an instrument, that's an option too. So now that you have a chord progression and you have melody ideas, it's time for step 3, which is actually where most beginners get stuck. Many songs stay unfinished because this crucial step is skipped, but now we'll tie everything together to ensure your track doesn't just become another forgotten project. So if you've been following the video up until this point, you should have a Logic Pro session that looks like this. You have a chord progression that is super long and all these interesting vocal melodies. So how do you get your Logic Pro session to look like this instead? Well, we need to lay the structure to our song now to essentially finish the puzzle. So let me show you how you can do this yourself right now. Step 1 is build the structure to your song markers in Logic. Now, build it out the best you can with the information you know right now. For instance, you might want to change something in the future, and that's okay. But just start building the structure now so it gives you something to work towards. Step 2 is actually just to fill in your chord progression within the highlighted markers. Step 3 is choose 2 or 3 specific melody ideas to use for your verse and chorus sections and paste these melodies within the marker structure as well. Step 4 is listen back to this rough draft structure. You might realize 2 big errors. 1, you might realize your chord progression is just too stale and it actually needs to change in between some sections. For instance, let's say the chorus. So if you do, you're going to need to go back to step 1 and create a new chord progression for this section. The second thing you might realize here is that maybe you've created some melody ideas just don't fit. So this is when you're actually going to need to go back and brainstorm new melody ideas, but this time just do it within your structure. Step 5 is once you've confirmed structure and now your vocal melody ideas, now is actually the time to start finishing the lyrics of your song. This could be the easiest part for you, but for some it's the hardest part, and for me it's definitely the hardest part. But what often happens here is that when I'm singing melody ideas, I'm actually singing lyrics by accident too. And most of the songs, almost all of them actually, on my Spotify profile, I've all come up with titles that have just come up by accident. Again, this is one way to start and finish a song that gives you this structured approach. There are also many other ways you can do it, but I like to rely on this way because it gives you structure. So now you have a finished song, or at least a structure, but that's really just the beginning of something else, right? Next comes the polish, the production, the mix to truly bring your music to life. So watch this video here for 3 Logic Pro production tips that transform my music completely. And I think it's going to help you produce your songs with more confidence.